Hi there, sewing ladies. So I'm going to try to explain to you as quickly and concisely as I can how I cut my tulle for this pattern. I posted this picture to the Misha Taught Me Sewing group, and a lot of you had questions about the way I did it. So I've been working on this skirt right here. Like I said in the group, I only use the pattern really to cut the lining of my skirt. So I use the circle as the lining, and that's it. And then the rest of it I kind of freestyle myself. So if my camera starts to shake a little bit, please excuse that. I am doing all the filming and things myself. So here I go. Okay, so I have my tulle, and for this skirt, the 2-layer skirt, I decided that I want the top part of it to be 13 inches and the ruffle on the bottom to be 13 inches for a total of 25. The extra inch in there is allowed for seam allowance. So the first thing I did was I went through, I got a full layer of this tulle from Joann's, and then once I got it, I went through and I made sure all the layers are in line. So if any of them are like down in there, I just pull it out, and I just keep doing that until it's all matched up and in line. And one of the first things I did was I pinned the tulle down so it doesn't come unravel or doesn't come out. So now I'm going to take my measuring tape here, and I'm going to measure down the first 13 inches. I have a fabric pin, so that's what I'm going to use to mark my tulle, and it shows up really nicely. I end up cutting right through it so you never see it afterward. So I'm going to make sure the top of my measuring tape is flush with the layers. This is the folded side of the tulle. Every bolt of fabric has a folded side. It's folded in half. So I'm ultimately going to end up working with 2 layers the whole time. Oh. And a crash. Okay, here we go again. Alrighty. Am I straight? I'm sorry, I hope no one gets sick from the movement. I'm just really not trying to do this twice. Okay, so I'm going to line this up flush with the folded edge, and I'm going to measure down to 13 inches, and I'm going to mark. And it shows up, and I'm going to do it again on the other side to make 2 points. Make it flush, measure down 13 inches, and mark. I did this on one side. I'm going to do it on the other side. Can you see my little blue marks there? Now I'm going to flip it over, do it again, mark, measure, mark 13 inches, opposite side, measure, mark 13 inches. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to get my ruler and connect the points. So I'm going to find my blue dots, connect them, make a straight line. This is going to be my cutting line. Flip it over, connect my lines. That's where I'm going to cut. I'm just going to make sure See my blue line there? Flip it over and it connects on the other side. Now, next thing I do is really, really important. Above and below that blue line, I'm going to pin as deeply as I can into the fabric because I don't want this stuff to slip while I'm cutting. I want everything to stay. I don't want my hem lines looking wompy once I'm done. So I'm going to pin down as many layers as I can, and I'm bending my needles as I do this. There. And on this side too. Pinning through as many layers as I can get through. Above and below the blue line. So that's not going to move once I start to cut. Now I'm going to do this again, starting at the blue line, down another 13 inches. Down another 13 inches. Now, if I wasn't making a 2-layer tulle skirt like this, and I wanted it to be a certain length, let's say this was just too long for me, I'd cut it like this still. And then I don't cut the panels like the pattern says to do. That's too much work. I don't want to go back and have to sew all those thin layers of tulle back together. That kind of seems like a headache. The side seams. If you're doing a skirt with the zipper, you'll have to do that for the zipper part, but that's only one seam in the back. Can suffer through that, but to do all the side seams and everything, no way. I have a yardstick, so what I would do is if I was making a regular skirt, I would just measure it out, cut it, and use it like that and not have side seams. Okay, I didn't pin down the back of this one. I want to do that. So I'm still securing all around my cut line. I'm almost done. Securing all the way around my cut line. Good thing about this tool is that it's so lightweight and it is really thin. You can just slice right through it. Okay, and again I'm going to connect the dots that I made when I measured down to make a cutting line. It's on one side, connect the dots on the other side, and I have my second. Cut line there and there. Secure it. Now because the top part of my skirt is going to be 10 yards, so I measured out 10 yards and I cut that. And then the ruffle on the bottom is the full 20 yards. because I want it to be fuller than it is on top. Okay, so now I'm going to cut. Here's what I'm going to do. Take my scissors with the sharp point, and I'm just going to jam it right into that cut line. Let's see, how can I do this? There we go, I think. Through all the layers, all the way through. You may get just the first top layers at first. Now, these have a sharp point for me, but they're not sharp. I've had them forever, and these are, so I'm going to use these to actually cut. Make sure I got through all the layers. And almost. Go back, get through more layers. I think I was actually cutting the cardboard there, which is fine. And go all the way around. When you get here, still getting through all these layers. Now, once I'm done and I've cut this, I'm just going to slip this whole thing off the cardboard and work with it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to finish cutting it off camera. This side that's folded, I'm going to keep this just like it is, and when I sew, this is going to be the top part of my ruffle. And this is actually going to be the bottom part that I end up cutting off. From here to here is actually the top of the actual skirt. So let me go grab the skirt real quick. So top of the skirt, here's the ruffle, and this is actually that folded edge that I showed you, and I ruffled this on my machine just like that. After I finished cutting this, I didn't want the layers to start slipping around. I wanted to kind of sew them and treat them as one layer. So what I did was I held the fabric steady and put it on the sewing machine and made a straight stitch. Let me see. Here. I made a straight stitch all the way around, and I made it at 1/2 inch so I would know exactly where to put this ruffle. I wouldn't have to guess at how high or how low to make this ruffle. And then when I sewed it, I could tell where the thread is. That's where I want to match. Just like that. Match the two. On the top, I need to do the same thing. I need to go back and make a straight stitch to make this, to treat it as one layer instead of it being 2 layers. So that is how I cut my tulle fabric. I hope that was easy enough to understand. Of course, if you have a question, just let me know and I'll try to answer it. Bye, ladies.